This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Ladies and gentlemen of the podcast, today, my smoke show of a wife, Michelle McCormack. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, hello.
Are you so excited to be on this?
I'm so excited to be on this. It's been a journey. I got my braces off on Monday, so here is my debut as Mark's wife. I was in hiding for a year and a half.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So it's funny, people have been asking us a lot, like, when you have Michelle on, and I say, well, as soon as her braces are off, and then they look at me like I'm a dickhead. And I'm
That's a me thing.
It's not for me. Yeah, it's not me. It's Michelle who doesn't want to come on here with braces. She wants to come on here looking as beautiful as ever with her brand new teeth.
Thank you. Very happy to be here. I'm going to make everyone roll their eyes immediately. But I just want to say I'm super proud of you and this podcast. I have the unique perspective as your wife, and I watch you every day go out into the world and absolutely kill it out in the world and doing everything that you can to provide for our family. And not one of those things are you passionate about. And so this is just a beautiful expression of you, and it makes me really happy. And I'm always proud of you, but this is something super special.
Awesome. Thank you, babe. Almost wonder if you got a bet with someone to make me cry at the start of this podcast. Michelle is my favorite person in the world and my best friend. And I love having you on the podcast. Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Some cool stuff that's happened in our life. Our youngest daughter turns 8 years old tomorrow.
Why are we doing this from the beginning?
I don't know.
Yeah. Birthday weeks are a bittersweet time in our family. So
yeah, it's been funny for us because ever since we first started having kids, Michelle normally cries on every birthday, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Is it one you've missed?
No. And it's not a sadness. It's hard having like a physical expression of all the years that have gone by, you know?
Yeah.
And she is our baby, so.
Yep, she's our little baby.
And it's also like being so happy at every stage. Like they're beautiful and fun and all the things at every stage.
Yeah. I'm one of the lucky few people, not few people, I'm a very lucky person whose wife just always wanted to be a mom. And it's always been important to you. And I don't know, it's like, when Michelle and I talk about our lives together and where we want to be and like just all the goals that we have, like it always revolves around our kids and spending more and more time with them. And basically the only thing that I'm upset with in my life is that I just watch time slip every day, and it's hard on me. So it's cool to share all those awesome moments with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's the first thing you wanted to talk about in our podcast today, other than me?
I just want to talk about you. You're easy to talk about.
Oh, stop.
I don't know. Do we start at the beginning?
Yeah, dude. Let's talk about our first date. Our first official date.
Okay. Our first official date. What do you mean?
Well, we went to the same high school together.
Yeah.
And we had some kind of mutual friends, but not really. We didn't really hang out in high school all that much. Maybe once or twice. We were kind of in the same area. I came home from my LDS mission, and our really good friend Brent, who we're still very good friends with today, hooked us up on our first date. We went on a double date with him and a girl. And I'll let you tell the perspective. I think I've told it on the podcast a few times. So
yeah.
Let's hear Michelle's version.
So my sophomore year, Mark's senior year, we went to the same high school. And so we had hung out with the same group of people, but never dated, hung out, or anything. My junior year, Mark's little brother Brett it was his senior year, and we hung out with them all the time. I was very good friends with Brett and Brent Tracy, matchmaker of the year. And Mark had come home from his mission. Brent was getting ready to go. And so they were hanging out a ton. And I got a phone call from Brent one night, and he was like, hey, there's this way cute girl I'm taking out tonight. And so Mark needs a date. And I was like, that is fine. I will go on a date with Mark, but he has to call me because Brent was also picking me up for this date because we were meeting you somewhere.
Yeah, I was busy.
Shall we tell everyone?
Yeah, I was at a Zengo meeting. My first dipping my toes in the MLM world. Yeah.
Yes.
Oops.
And so what I remember about that date is I remember we went and saw School of Rock. And you drove me home, which was nice of you, and walked me to my door. And I just had this like weird, almost deja vu feeling of like, this person is going to be important to you. And just remember being like, don't let him kiss you. You don't want to say that he kissed you on the first date. And this is going to be something that like is going to happen a lot in your life, having conversation with this man, whatever it was. And that was October. I don't think we're not together for a day until we were married the next June. So we were engaged Valentine's Day and married in June. So a very quick, I don't know.
Dating period?
Arranged
courtship?
Marriage.
There we go. A very quick courtship. Not really, though. Like in our world back then, in the LDS world, it was actually pretty long. I think we were supposed to get married like 2 weeks after we met or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the funny thing on my side, too, is, I walked her to the door and we were she was standing up a couple steps because I'm very tall and she's average size. And we were like holding each other's elbows, basically, right? That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like looking at each other, and I felt the exact same way. I actually knew that she was my wife in a moment, but
yeah,
it was really weird.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it was really weird. I was determined to go all the way through law school before I got married, so I wasn't planning on getting married till I was like 27 or 28 or even older. And yeah, dude, I decided that night. Mm-hmm. I just had to convince you a little bit, I think. No, not really.
I don't think so.
That's a stupid story old people tell. I convinced my wife to marry me.
And it was weird, back then. We were both LDS, and it was like, you're supposed to go to the temple or you're supposed to pray about this and get your answer. And so I was trying to do all of those things. And I just kept feeling like this is right. And it was concerning to me for the first little bit that, like, I don't know if I got some big sign from God.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I didn't, because the result of it is definitely.
Yeah. And we have an amazing marriage. And we've never been shy to say that. We've never been shy to show that to people. It hasn't come without, the usual stuff people go through, lulls and hard times and us being mad. Michelle does get mad at me. People have a hard time believing that.
I like that. People think you're the fiery one. Yeah. And that's fun.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was kind of funny. We were on a call, and we did this assessment on our personalities, right? And I fall in the driver's seat all the time in these stupid assessments, which actually to me is boring because I'm like, yeah, I did this a little while ago. I know I'm a driver, but I like to kind of sit in the creative side of my own world most of the time. And one of the guys had made a comment like, yeah, Mark's wife is kind of subservient to him, and kind of has that personality, and those two personalities match. And I was like, that is not true. My wife is an absolute driver. I think our marriage, because I've been trying to define this, right? I've been trying to define it for years. It's really hard to explain to people, but I think one of the best ways to put it is like we're just equal. Mm-hmm. And we really are. We've always treated each other equal. We've always valued each other's opinions and leaned on each other for everything. Yeah. And so
I'll say kind of what I think. Sometimes when people ask that, like how is your relationship successful? And how do you define success? All those things. And I don't really like that question or giving advice, because we are two very unique individuals. Anyone in any relationship are unique individuals. And so I could give you a whole list of things that work for us, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for anyone else. I think with you and I, we are both very determined people. And so we have never not wanted this to work, number one. And we have both worked really hard. I even would say, like, at times when I wasn't in the best place, you were like, the driver of it. And I hopefully have done that for you at times when you were low. So I would say we are determined, and we have chosen what we wanted. And you and I remember our first years of marriage being very much dreamers. Like, we would sit down with one another and talk about what our life was going to be. And so it's a beautiful thing to now be 19 years in and feel like I built this. Like, this wasn't some, we didn't read the right book or take the right advice, or we aren't two perfect people. It's because you and I made a decision and we built exactly what we wanted.
Absolutely. We talk about this all the time still. We still dream. Mm-hmm. And it's really crazy to actually look at our life, and I don't think we've built exactly what we wanted to. We were 22 and 20 when we got married, and I think we have literally everything that we ever dreamt of, right? On all levels, on financial level, on relationship level, and spiritual level. I feel like we're wildly connected. We still love spending time with each other. There's no one I love more than you. There's no one I love laughing with more than you. There's no one I love watching TV with more than you, or cleaning the house with more than you. I just like being around you.
Yeah.
And that is a theme with us is, we built this. And it's hard to explain that to people, because a lot of people get in their heads a lot, and I feel like they're very concerned with the outward appearance of what their relationship look like. And we don't give a shit, There's an innate thing in both of us that we would like people to like us or choose to like us, right? But if you don't, see ya, and kind of going with more what you're saying, it's like, because we choose each other every single day. We really, really do.
Yeah.
So, and then we made some kids. So once you got the kids, man, you really got to kind of keep your shit together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was it like the first couple of years of being married?
When we very first got married, so you were going to school full time at night and working full time up in West Jordan. Mm-hmm. So during the week, I don't even think we saw each other, and we'd hang out all weekend long. And it was a lot of fun, but I think the telltale sign that I had made the right decision in those first few years was we just got it. Like, I knew my role, you knew your role. We put our heads down, and it was like, this is the time where we're just going to work our asses off so that we can have all these things that we dream of having someday.
Yeah.
And it's very refreshing to never have had to like set you back on track. Like, you just know what you're supposed to be doing. And I have always been the same. So you were working, going to school. You graduated from college like 3 years in, and I just started working full time. And I had enjoyed like anatomy and physiology in high school. I had enjoyed those classes. And so I had wanted to go to nursing school. And as we got married and figured out kind of the logistics of how this was going to work for us, it was just more productive for me to work. And I can proudly say I made more money than Mark for the first year and 2 years, maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
Hourly wage. Yeah. And I found a really great job that they were really good to me, and I was able to move up in the company. And we had the goal that, I always wanted to be a mom, and I wanted to be at home, whether that was working from home or not working at all. And so we decided we were not going to have kids until that happened, because, we were not going to play this game of like, we'll be taken care of if we just have kids. Yeah, and that was, the best decision. And I've been super grateful that we made that decision all along. But it was at first hard, because we're watching everybody else have kids and wanting to experience and, move on to that portion of our lives. And
no, I think that's a key point. Is we, I love how you said that we were dreaming at the start. We built a plan. Like, it was it's probably written down at some point, knowing both of us. We probably wrote it down separately. But no, we did. We had milestones we had to hit before we were going to have children, milestones before we were going to, like buy houses and different cars and, all sorts of stuff. And we were actually kind of like Dave Ramsey's best students. We paid off debt like crazy. We didn't go on vacations that weren't paid for by other people generally, right? When we were younger. And our 20s were kind of militaristic, really, but we still found plenty of time to, just love on each other.
Yeah. It was fun. And we traveled too. I remember going to Disneyland a couple times before we had kids, and we had a ton of fun together.
We traveled for work a lot.
Yes.
So I took Michelle to every podunk motherfucking town that was building an elementary school on the Western Coast. And I still remember the first time you jumped on a scissor lift. If anyone doesn't know what that is, look it up. They're hilarious. They're basically a little machine that takes you up into the air so you can work in the ceilings of like high school gyms and stuff. And I don't think you've been on one since, right?
No. Are you trying to say I'm the one that was scared on that thing?
I'm pretty sure you were scared. Was I scared?
I was scared because you were scared. No, that
I
was
wish
hilarious.
we could verify this. No, it was great.
No, I just was not expecting it to sway.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to it swaying.
Yeah. I remember. I made Mark take it up, and then if he had to move it, we had to go all the way down.
Yeah.
Move it, and then he could go up again.
Yeah, go up and down.
There's no way we're traveling on this thing 100 feet up.
It's kind of funny. I'm thinking about that now, and I've got employees that work for me, and it's been a few years since I've installed. During our 20s, I installed all the time. almost every weekend. So not only was I going to school at nights and in the morning sometimes, and sometimes Saturday classes, I was working full time during the day. And then on the weekends, I'd go and install. And you installed with me plenty. You know, I would take Michelle and we would install whiteboards. And when I was like 27, I lost $100,000 in investors' money, if you remember this. And I had to earn all that money back. It took me like a year and a half and it was like every weekend. And it's kind of funny because it kind of set this tone in our world that like I was just going to get it done and you were just going to support me and be at home when I was ready to come home. And you know, there was times where I'd go to Vegas for, 3 or 4 days and I'd come home and work and catch up with school and damn, man, when I look back on it, I was like, how the hell did we stay married? Like we actually didn't see each other all that much.
Yeah.
At least from what I can remember. Is that what you remember?
Yeah, that's what I remember. And I think it's just kind of what I was saying before. Like we both just knew where we needed to be and what we needed to be doing to make things work.
Yeah.
And so we did it without complaining.
Yeah.
You know, that you instilled right from the beginning a lot of trust. And I never had to push you to go get a job. And so like even those things, losing money on an investment, like I was never fearful when that happened or mad at you. It was just like, okay, like I know he's going to fix it. And like people, even now, this is kind of funny. You are like meticulous about our finances and where all the money goes and where it's all coming in. And once a year I get an email, an ill-timed email from Mark that will explain where everything is coming in, what I'm supposed to do. If anything happens to him, call Doug Shumway and he'll tell you all of the things. And the funny thing about that is if I were put in charge, or if you didn't do that, and if you weren't as like meticulous as you are with it, I would never let you do it. Like I am the exact same person. So when people talk about how you are, I'm like, we work the exact same way. Yeah. And so it's worked very
well. That's one thing I think is funny too, is people, they always say to me like, oh, your wife keeps the most amazing house and it's always clean and it's always this, and all this kind of stuff. And there's every now and then there's this undertone of like, oh, you're lucky or this place would be a disaster. And I'm like, you freaking kidding me? I'm the exact same way. I clean up, the house would look exactly the same if she wasn't here, And it's because I don't know if it's because we got married so young or what, but there's a lot of stuff that we do that is the exact same thought process.
Yeah.
Almost everything we do is very, very similar in that. But we also don't always agree.
We have lots of thousands of dollars worth of art at our house that
Michelle
Mark
hates my art.
Still thinks he's going to put on the wall.
No, I don't. I'm going to take it all to the office. My office is going to get planted with all my art that Michelle does not like. How come you don't like my art?
I like your creativity.
How come you don't like my art?
Some of it, I have had to get used to. The one art that you bought, it's just dark and gothic-y.
Yeah.
And I don't want our children having dark gothic thoughts.
Yeah, I got a little excited. We went with my friend Melanie, or our friend Melanie, and how many pieces did I buy from him? Like 5?
I don't know.
I bought a lot.
Yes, because you have too big of a heart, and you wanted to help this up-and-coming artist.
No, yeah, a little bit, but I also liked what I bought, so it is kind of moody. Moody is what you call it in the art world, baby, not God.
Okay.
Very moody. The funny thing was, there's this little skull painting that I liked that he had to finish, right? And, it's tiny. What is that thing, like a 15 by 17 or something like that. And Michelle thinks it's super scary, so it's like not going up in the house anywhere. Here's a funnier story, though. People know this, and I wish I edited this where I could show this photo because people would find it hilarious. But I actually commissioned a picture of Michelle to be done.
I need you to stop telling people that.
I know, but it's not supposed to look exactly like her, but it looks like a little bit of a cartoon. And tell us what you think of it.
I don't know who it is. It's definitely not any cartoon version of me.
And then, the funny part about it is she told me to sell it. Which I'm like, I don't think there's a market for this. So, maybe I'll throw it up on Etsy.
Yeah.
Bull crap. I'm going to put it in my office. I like it in my office.
Okay.
That's what I'll do. But yeah. So that's one thing we fight about is art. Then I get mad at Michelle for not buying any art, but then she doesn't care. So, do you care about art?
I do. I don't know. Sitting down and shopping for art online or stuff like that is very tedious.
Yeah, that's all right.
For me.
And then I get live with it, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I want to buy all this stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll open my own art gallery.
Yeah, let's go find an art gallery, and let's go together.
Yeah.
Because you and I, we actually agree on most things. Yeah. When you go off on your own, I don't know what's happening.
Well, hey, I want to shift gears because I want to talk about your life a little bit more than me on the President McCormack podcast. One thing that I love to brag about my wife is that she is an accomplished bodybuilder. And people don't know what that means because she gets on stage about 132 pounds. And then I show pictures of you and people are just absolutely floored, especially people that have seen that world. Michelle has won multiple trophies. We have at least 5. She's an overall winner here in the state of Utah, which means that she won her categories that she competed in, and then she won the overall. So every single girl that competed that day, she was the overall winner, which is actually an amazing moment for us. People understand bodybuilding. It's very expensive, and it's actually very selfish. Not that I felt like she was being selfish, but it's a selfish sport because it's every minute of every day is thought about and planned out, and there's multiple workouts every single day, and you have to eat certain things, and you have to take a lot of supplements, and then you go to shows and you have to get tans and suits, and it's just a lot. It's a lot. And as I say that, I want everyone to know, I was 100% supportive the entire time, and we're very, very happy to go on that ride with you. But I just think that sometimes people think they just go to the gym and then they show up and they get like a bikini on and a tan and then bam, they're on stage. It's not that. So tell us about it. Why? I know you. So to kind of started off, Michelle's worked out since she was in high school. She's always enjoyed weights at the gym.
Yeah.
What made you want to go into actual competing and seeing how bad you could beat everyone's ass?
Thank you. You were always the best support with all of that. So I started working out in high school. I think that a little bit came from my family. My parents have always had gym memberships. They go to the gym every day. It was part of our routine and part of what we did. And so there was that. When I was in high school, the ideal body type was this size 00, tiny, tall, skinny, lanky girl. Very different from today, which is more of curvy. Got to have biggest booty ever. And that is just not my body type, no matter what I'm ever going to do. I didn't necessarily feel like I grew up with body issues, but when I moved away and went to college, I went to Weber State for a year. And it was really then that I fell into this and I started Body for Life, if anyone remembers what that is. But there was something about, buying my own food, cooking my own food, having my own set schedule that, living away on my own really made that easy. And I really got into it. And the reason I ended up loving it so much is I realized that if I do have these things about my body that I don't like, it is all in my control. And I could mold my body into whatever I wanted. And so I really developed this love for weightlifting and tried to eat better, all that sort of stuff. I weightlifted up until the day I delivered all of our babies. And after I had our first child, I had a friend that wanted to do a figure competition. And so I started prepping for that and did my very first show when Brea was 18 months old. And it was super fun. It was fun for me because it really fits my personality. Like having this set routine, I have all the rules listed out and all I have to do is do them. And checking things off a list is very rewarding for me. And getting up there and getting on stage was really uncomfortable. And it was fun to do something that was really uncomfortable and then feel like I did a good job.
By the way, what she means when she says it fits her personality, it means that she's a machine.
Yes.
It means that you'll get up at 5:30 in the morning, eat a yam, eat a chicken breast with no seasoning, go to the gym, do exactly what your trainer tells you to do, come home, eat a shit ton of supplements, rinse and repeat over and over and over all throughout the day, right? Mm-hmm. And then at night when you're totally exhausted because you have no carbs, you'll get on a freaking cardio machine and knock out 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It is a hell of a program.
And I'll say this, like the hardest part about it is like I maintain my weight well enough that I'm probably at any point in my life, I've been 12 or 16 weeks out from a show where I could start dieting, start doing all those things and not have to absolutely murder myself to get into shape for a show. And the hardest part is about 4 to 6 weeks out from that show, I am below 10% body fat and I look better than I've ever looked in my life. And you get to a point that I know I could go have the biggest cheat meal ever and all the carbs, all the burger, whatever. And I would actually look 1,000 times better tomorrow morning. I'd sweat my ass off all night sleeping and have the best workout in the morning, actually have energy and not feel lethargic during my workout. And so at that point, it becomes this insane mental game because you're like, I know, but I know I can't do that because I have to water deplete in 2 weeks and completely strip all the water from me. And that's going to make me look bloated and this up on stage. And so it is really hard, like as strong as you think you are mentally, to get to a point where you're like, I've made it, I'm there, and then still have to go even more hard. Because then at that point, 4 weeks out from a show, I have to take all the things, like I have to mess with salt intake and water intake and all this crap. All the little things that I've decided in my brain were a little bit of a treat that day. I have to take that stuff out.
Absolutely. One thing that's wild too is what people don't get is there's a lot of people that start prepping for a show and never actually get to a show because they are not ready. You know, they'll get 4 weeks out and they're not ready.
Because they've had the cheat meal when they shouldn't have had it.
Or their expectation to get down there. I mean, I think there's a lot of
or they didn't have enough time.
Yeah, a lot of people think they're fit, you know, and then being fit and being stage ready are two different universes. You actually stand up there where you are water depleted and you've actually hit a little bit of carb in the morning, right, to kind of pump your muscles back up to look good. Mm-hmm. And then you stand on stage with 5 women at a time and you're compared with no set judgment, really. It's just whatever objectively they think. You're being compared to the girl right next to you who's in the exact same shape. You know, looking good at the gym and actually looking good on stage are wildly different. And I've tried to say it to people without being arrogant. Not that I've got on stage, but people are like, well, I'm really, really fit. And it's like, you're not fit like you think you are. There is a whole nother level. When a woman's at 14, 15% body fat in the gym, they look very, very fit. And you're getting on stage at 6, 7? Would you guess?
Yeah. Oh, percent body fat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know what you're asking.
Yeah. You get on stage at 6 or 7% body fat and you feel like absolute shit. And so, anyways, keep going though. I like to kind of point that out because I think people hear these stories and they don't realize how difficult those last 4 weeks really are, like you're saying.
So that first show that I did, I think I got second in one of the categories, and you can, categories are based on your height and something else I can't remember. And then we had another baby. We had our second child, and when he was like 2 years old, I decided that in the meantime, I had got my personal training certification. And so I was trying to build up a personal training business. And we had been to the Olympia, I think. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, I think that would be so cool to say I am a pro athlete in this sport. And so I decided to go that route and hired a trainer. That is when I did the Utah show in March 2014. And that is the one that I won all the things. And that day, that was so fun. It is so fun to work really hard at something and win it, and to know that I won it. Know that I deserved that trophy for sure.
Yeah.
And then it was June. So because
let's explain that moment. So I'm backstage with Michelle. You guys got to realize there's a pre-show, there's pre-judging, and then there's the actual show, right? So a lot of the pre-judging is where, did that happen in the morning?
So they do the pre-judging in the morning, and that's where you can kind of tell who's going to be your top 3 because they move you around. And if you end up in the center over and over and over again, you can kind of tell. I don't remember feeling that confident after.
Think you were in the center every time.
Yeah, I don't remember feeling that confident after prejudging. And then you come out for the night show. And when you do the night show, you basically walk out, you do your poses, and then they will bring out the top 5 and then announce the top 3. And then you take, because I can't remember the things. There was you could compete in the open and novice and all these things. Because there was 3 first place trophies that I won. And then I'm put up against all the other girls from different categories that are taller than me and won the overall, which is the big
From my perspective, it was really cool because Michelle got up there and I don't give a shit if you think this is biased. She looked the best by far in her category. Absolutely the best by far. You have the best sweep. You have the best butt. You have the best shoulders. Your abs are the best. I mean, everything about you is the best. I don't think one of those girls beat you in any little thing that they kind of judge you on. And I remember very specifically being when you started getting the first place trophies, I was like, number 1, well-deserved, and number 2, hell yes. She's winning all these things, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember that being good enough. I was like, cool, she freaking did it. She did exactly what she came here to do, and she deserves this and all this kind of stuff. And then they were like, okay, you get to be in the overall. And we're like, okay, cool, let's see how you do, And I think we were both just kind of dumb optimistic, right? Did you feel that same way?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you go, did you even pose against those girls or you just walk out there?
Yeah, he posed against them.
Yeah, so there's 3 of them. They're posing against each other. And one of the girls was kind of on her way to getting her pro card. I mean, she was a legit, actually, I can't remember the other one, but one of them for sure was very muscular and you were very worried about her. And I think she was in your category. Well, anyways, it doesn't matter. Going way off on the story, but I remember I was standing off stage because, you can have one person back there with you plus your trainer. And so that I was backstage and I just remember them calling your name. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what the hell? She just won the overall. And like the smile on your face was like wild. And like, I was just like, what the freak? And I'm just like staring at you. I'm like, dude, she just won the whole freaking thing. Like now she gets to go compete nationally because you have to do that to compete nationally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just remember thinking, dude, she's like going to be able to do what she wants. Now she can go and like do some national shows and get her pro card if she wants. And it was an amazing moment. I just remember, you know, you came running over to me with the trophy and we like hugged, and a couple of our friends saw it and were like, these guys are cool. Yeah, it was such a cool moment to be part of your win or just experiencing your win, you know.
Well, you were definitely part of it. I mean, there's not many moms that could do that with 2 kids. Like you just put your head down and took care of things so I could go do that.
Yeah.
And after that show, so then I did qualify for nationals, and we decided to go to nationals in Chicago, and that was in June. And so I basically had 2 weeks off and then went right back into prep mode. I think you had one
cheat meal, right? Didn't we go grab like an Apollo burger that night and then?
Yeah, something like that.
Probably the funny thing too is when you have a cheat meal after you're that depleted, it all tastes like shit. It's like, salty and greasy and whatever.
You feel gross. And nationals was a lot of fun. It was really fun to like go out to Chicago and be out there with you and be doing some, you know, be right in this. We were in the hotel where the show was at, and be in that world.
Well, you were, you know, your trainer was Justin Dees. You know, at the time his wife was Heather Dees, and she was a top pro and friend. And it was really fun because they were introducing us to all the main judges and like, you know, some of the owners and like some of the people that were down there and other competitors. And you kind of felt like you were kind of part of the pros, you know.
Yeah.
Not that you felt like you were a pro, but like you were kind of hobnobbing with the people out there, I guess.
Yeah. And at nationals, it was an amazing experience, but I think that's my last show I'll ever do. And it really happened at that show. And here's what it was for me. I am a very competitive person. And just like in any sport, I want to do everything I can possibly do and have control of to make sure that I am ready for the game and ready to go compete. And so I did that. And you get there, and because of the way the sport is, it is completely subjective upon this panel of judges who are looking at hundreds of bodies up there. There is no way for them to be able to notice me, and then say what placing I'm going to have. And so that's where you kind of get into the politics of the sport that everyone wants to talk about. And that's that the girls or the competitors that are getting noticed up there this is either their 15th show and the judges are starting to recognize them, national show, or they've paid for the trainer that brings a lot of the pros to the judges, and the judges trust most of their competitors. I went up there on that stage, and not one of those judges looked up from their desk because they don't know who I am. I don't have a prestigious enough trainer, and this is my very first national show. And so they can't even think about me because they've got their list of 15 girls that they are looking at and waiting for. So it was frustrating. Like I almost wanted to trip or do something crazy just for them to look up and notice me, because I know every single person up there has also worked really, really hard to be there. So we all deserve that chance. And it is extremely frustrating to watch someone get 5th, 4th, or 3rd place that you're like, I know, not even me, take me out of it. There's 1,000 other bodies here that are the proportions that you want, that gave better stage presence, all the things that you're supposedly looking for. So just, to me, it was like, I don't ever want to be just given this, because I've been to enough national shows. And also, if I can't control anything to actually make it there, besides all this shit that makes me feel like you're just giving it to me, then it's not fun for me.
Yeah, and it was, I think we also looked at it as kind of a risk-reward thing too, right? You know, we had our little boy who was 2.5 then, and we wanted to have another kid, or we were at least discussing it at the time, and it was like, we almost had to pick between having a kid, having Harper, which obviously we chose, or you going on maybe a 2 or 3 year long voyage. Because you only compete in 3 national shows a year, really, most people. Yeah. Or maybe you can do more, I can't remember. There's a lot more shows now. I can't really, we're kind of out of the industry, not that we were ever in it, but it's a very, very hard thing. Another thing too is women pros make no money. And so the thing with being a pro is, once you're, back then that's when they wanted to sign you to a supplement line or something like that. They would pay you monthly to kind of do this kind of stuff, which quite frankly, we were never interested in. You know, I never gave a shit. I didn't want you to make any money. I wanted you to kind of live your dream. You know, I was sponsoring you. I didn't need BSN to sponsor you. But women, you know, even if you went to the Olympia, if I remember right, wouldn't it be about $20,000 as the win?
No, I remember at one time when Nicole Wilkins won it, she got $60,000. I don't know if it changes every year.
I can't remember either.
But I don't know if 2nd or 3rd gets anything.
Yeah. See, I just remember it being such a low dollar amount that I was like, and you know, sometimes, I mean, you hear $60,000, you think that's a lot of money. It's like, yeah, but it probably costs you $40,000 to get there.
Yeah.
You know, it's really expensive. You're about $1,000 a month in just supplements.
Right.
And on the guy side, you're way more expensive because you got to do steroids or gear or whatever we're calling it these days.
Yeah.
You know? Like it is extremely expensive sport.
Yeah.
And then the people that do it too, I mean, and it takes a lot of time and dedication away, right? I mean, you were not as present in our marriage. You were not as present with your kids. And it is what it is. You know, it's awesome to look back now. I kind of feel like we did it right. You know, you got the experience, you won, you did very, very well. And when it came time to really decide, I think, you know, when I say we, I mean, it's just because Michelle was discussing these things with me more than me really giving my opinion, other than I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is worth it. Yeah. You know, if you do get a pro card in 3 years, then you got to be gone every other weekend, sitting at a booth selling BSN, so protein powder. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
So.
And the figure division also was starting to get to a point where I was like, I don't want my body to ever look like that. Yeah. And I actually hate when people look at the sport and judge it like that. Like, oh, I wouldn't want to look like that. Yeah. But at nationals, they were telling me, like, I was out of what their feedback was, that my legs were too big and out, like bigger than my upper body. Yeah. And so they wanted me to like widen my back and widen my shoulders. Well, and the more I thought about it, I'm like, that's not the way I want my body to look. And so I'm not going to just change it to fit some mold so I can do this. It's stupid.
Well, they also wanted you to increase your upper chest, if you remember.
Yeah. It's not my lower.
It's one of those things where, and by the way, when you get this kind of feedback, the next show that you do, they give you totally different feedback.
Then my shoulders and back would have been too big and out of proportion.
Or your waist or something, blah, blah, blah. Like it is a very, the funniest thing about it is it's a mental sport. It's kind of like golf. It's, you know, working out's actually pretty easy to do. Anyone can go work out. But like to actually mold your body the way that it needs to look almost perfectly proportioned is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So.
And, you know, I'm glad that I did it. Having 2 daughters, I've thought over the years, like, I'm glad that they don't have like this perfect body to aspire to, you know what I mean? To compare themselves to, or like to ever make them feel bad about their bodies.
Well, we don't even really talk about that in our family, though.
Yeah.
You know, it's just something we don't do. Kind of switching gears, one of the things that Michelle and I have chosen to do is homeschool. And it kind of feels like one of those things. It's kind of like when we were dreaming back when we were young, we kind of executed this plan. And now that we're here, we're like, oh, that was a damn good decision. Mm-hmm. And I'll preface this with saying, I know not every person out there can homeschool. Okay. And the flip side of that is not every person should either. There's a lot of people out there that are just not equipped to do it. But for us and our family, homeschooling has probably been the best decision we've made for our kids than anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would say that for me too. Like it's been very rewarding for me.
Yeah.
And we began homeschooling with COVID. Excuse me. And our son, we realized when he was at home that he could not read, and that these things that he was bringing home and reading aloud to us, he had just memorized and really had no like phonetic knowledge. And so a few weeks in to having to be at home, I thought, okay, I'm just going to pay for some curriculum, because any of the things that the school is sending home is taking hours and hours because this kid can't read. And so I bought some reading homeschool curriculum and started doing that with him. And it made me so happy to watch him progress in such little time and build confidence. Like he has been our most reluctant reader, like just to read for the enjoyment of reading. And I think it is because he does associate reading with a struggle. And I realized as that school year of 2020 or whatever was coming to a close, I thought, I always get really excited when the new school year is coming up, and I get excited to take my kids school shopping and for us to get back to the routine of being in school and sports and all the things. And about a month in, I hate it. I hate driving them to all the places, dealing with the whole structure, like routine of it. I just want to do my own thing. And I feel like I'm getting the worst parts of my kids because I'm waking them up in the morning. I'm rushing them off to school. They're coming home and we have to do homework. We have to do all the things. And then we have to get them to the extracurriculars. And then we have to do the dinner and bedtime routine. And it's all me wanting them to move faster. And it's not enjoyable. And at that point, I'm like, it's ridiculous that my kids are at school for 8 hours a day, and then they are still having to come home and interrupt our family time to do homework, to do busy work. You should be able to accommodate it all in the 8 hours that you have them.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with public school, and no matter how you want to look at it, it's wildly inefficient. And so the more we look at our family structure now, outside of just the freedom to do whatever we want, meaning, if we want to take a day off, we take a day off, If we want to go to one of the states to go see all the state sites because they're learning about it, we go do it. But really when you start looking at public school, you start realizing it's just daycare. Before the early morning programs and the after school programs, really the American public school system is basically daycare. And so by bringing our kids home, it actually prepares them for life, right? It's one of those things where it's like, if school takes an hour, it takes an hour. If it took 40 minutes, it could only take 40 minutes. Not that it does, but, really in life, you just have a task and complete it. You have a task and complete it. You have a task and complete it, and you keep on running. And so but it's also really strengthened our relationship with our kids, the relationship amongst them, with us. They're much more happy. They're much smarter. You know, they're progressing through their subjects way faster and with a way higher accuracy. It's very, very difficult, I think, when people look at it and they say, okay, there's 35 kids in this class. And it's like, if your kid raises his hand, he might get 2 or 3 minutes with the teacher every single day, one-on-one.
Yeah.
Where you get hours with them every day, one-on-one.
Well, and, you know, with Nixon in particular, there's just no way he's ever going to succeed in a classroom with 30 to 40 other kids.
Yeah.
Because he's like a social butterfly. He's going to sit at the back of the room and see every single thing that's happening in there. And when it is just he and I can force him to listen to me and force him to focus.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of a funny stigma, actually, with homeschool, because when we first started doing homeschool, you know, you get a lot of people that are like, oh, bless your heart. You're the greatest thing ever. If I could only be like you. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you can just choose to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But without going too deep into that. Or you have the other ones that are skeptical, right? And they say mean shit, and they say hurtful things, and they try and test your kids, or they try and do whatever jackassy thing they think is, I don't know if they think it's funny or if they're, who knows what's going on with people. And
the biggest one, they try to make you feel like you're going to have the weird kids. And my reaction to that has always been, I freaking hope they are weird.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I hope they are in this world. I hope they're the weird ones.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard not to agree with. You know, and it's funny too, is like if you really were to ask Michelle and I, like, what our goals are with our kids our goals and their education extend to probably when they're 25. Our kids have a net worth. Our kids are homeschooled. Our kids are taught about finances. They're taught about money. They're taught about real estate. I've actually taken my 2 oldest kids to a real estate seminar before. You know, there's all sorts of little things. And
we talk about religion and history. Yeah. Every time a new religion is brought up, we talk about the whole origin of it, where it is today.
Yeah. They're very well-rounded, actually, you know. And it's fun to kind of watch them progress, you know. And, like, you know, our oldest, Brea, she's going to turn 14 this year. When she turns 15, she'll start actually working a little bit. And most likely with her dad. And she will then basically get put into a mentor program with me, where I will put her with my CPAs, I'll put her with my project managers, I'll put her with, you know, all the people that I have inside my organization. So by the time she's 18, 19 years old, she'll actually be very efficient and effective working with adults. You know, she won't be one of these little weird kids that can't even say hi to an adult when they come into the room. You know, it's little things like that that I think really set children apart, you know, and they're kind of moving through their life. It seems like more and more there's this massive disconnect, and I think technology has a lot to do with that, you know, where people say, oh, I'm gonna talk to that person, and what they really mean is they're gonna text that person.
Yeah.
You know, there's these little things that fall apart where if we're very involved in their lives, we're actually molding them and pushing them in a certain direction. I think it's very evident when you come over to our home or you interact with our kids. Our kids have no problem talking to an adult.
Yeah.
Right? They also understand the boundaries that exist with adults, right? You know, we don't make them hug people that they don't want to hug, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. And all that stuff gets very fostered very lovingly inside of our home and then outside of our home when we go and do things.
Yeah.
Even our son Nixon, who we've been talking about, it was funny. It's his second year playing football, and I was walking him over to tryouts, and I said to him, I said, you nervous, Ben? And he's like, yeah, I'm super nervous, Dad. I was like, oh, crap. Why are you so nervous? You know, he goes, I just want everyone to remember my name. You know, all my buddies, I hope everyone remembers who I am. And I'm like, you're not nervous about actually playing football? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, and it's just a fun reminder of like, you know, that is something to actually be nervous about, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
but I will say, like, our kids definitely get that because they are homeschooled. I think what is kind of happening in the world today is not necessarily the school system, but parents expecting the school system to raise their kids, because our kids aren't that way just because they're homeschooled. They're that way also because we interact with them that way.
Yeah.
And so there are parents who just send their kids off to school and hope that the world teaches them all these things. And it takes one more thing off their plate from having to teach their kids to interact with the world that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
having to deal with that. I'll tell you, kind of going back to like our marriage, and one of the things that's always worked for us is we have never fought about finances, ever. Mm-hmm. And I think part of that is we did wait to have children. So we didn't take on debt. We didn't take on student loan debt or even credit card debt or anything like that early on in our relationship. And so as things came up in our world, we were able to basically pay for them. That doesn't mean that we always made a ton of money either. I mean, I think when we got married, I think you were making $8 an hour and I was making 10 or 11, right?
Yeah, until I got a raise.
Until you got a raise. That was so cool.
It was so exciting. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, as we sit here and talk, we were kind of prepping for this and we didn't really come up with anything. But, one of the things is I think the overall message that I like to share with people is like, you have to plan and build every relationship that you have. And but when it comes to children, you have to plan and build. And that plan is like a 25-year long plan. I've never planned for my kids to be 18 and kick them out of the house and I get my life back. I plan, and I'm speaking for Michelle as well, we plan to raise our children to be good, effective, contributing members to society that know how to learn, know how to be happy, and know how the world works. They know how to make money. They know how to pay taxes. They know how to not pay taxes. You know what I'm saying? There's all these little things that we're going to teach them. And then by the time they're 25, it's good for us because they can choose their own lives. They can, they don't have to live with us. They'll be able to do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very, very important for people to understand. And it's kind of the same thing with our marriage. Like we look at our marriage, we look at ourselves in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. We'll be dead at 50 most likely. But you know what I'm saying? Like we're really looking at that and saying, okay, what milestones do we need to hit? What do we want to accomplish? Where do we want to be? And then we just go to work every single day. And to be honest with you, to the listeners, our life is really freaking easy. It's really easy now. Yeah. So when we say go to work, it's not hard work every day. It's not like it's difficult to be in our marriage or difficult to be in our family. It's just to continue to do the things that we find important, that we've chosen to be important. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that we've kind of been joking about lately is people wanting to be mentored by you. And they should want to be mentored by you, but we laugh about it because we're like, well, you really wanted to be mentored by me 20 years ago. Right. Even like when we moved into our house, I don't think people understand that we lived in a townhome, like a tiny little townhome, no yard, for a long time. And we're double, even sometimes triple paying off our mortgage to be able to very easily get into a bigger home. Yeah. And I think sometimes people look at things from the outside and they're like, oh, Mark got a big paycheck. And it's like, no, this has been the plan the whole time. Yeah. You just had no idea that this is what we were working towards.
Exactly. I talk about stocks a lot with that, right? So I started investing in stocks when I was 21, actually before I met Michelle. Mm-hmm. And it was a couple $100 a month at the best, right? And I remember thinking after like 10 years, we had 2 kids, right? By the time, I was 10 years into this, and I was like, I'm not really making that much money into this. But now that I'm like 20 years into it, it's a very nice asset that we've grown. And it's that same principle of what you're saying. Like, no one pays attention during the struggle. Like, I remember in my late 20s, we had a friend that came to us and they had all this debt and they had just barely gotten married civilly, right? And they're asking me what I thought, right? Yeah. And I was like, well, if you want to get rid of this debt, what you got to do is get divorced on paper, so we don't actually get divorced, right?
Because it was all her debt,
I think it was all her debt, yeah. From a previous marriage, it was like, okay, go and bankrupt this thing away. Mm-hmm. And as soon as the bankruptcy has been discharged, then go back down to the courthouse and sign the papers again and get remarried. And no one will have to know. It's just like a procedure type thing. And wow, are they mad? It was like I told them to, like hate each other or something. And I was just like, no, this is just, if you want to make this easy, just do this.
Yeah.
But they've been living together before they get married. What the hell's the difference?
Those were always fun conversations.
Yeah.
Because people look at me like, Michelle, can you believe this? I'm like, I agree.
Yeah. And that's one funny thing with me. I never worry about what I say because I'm like, oh, my wife's not going to give a shit. I don't know why you guys think this is some big deal. Do you think she doesn't know me? You know what I mean? So even when people are like, oh, Michelle said this, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it makes sense. But I was trying to think of some funny things to like talk about on our podcast. So I was going to ask you a fun question.
Yeah.
To give the people some meat. What's the hardest thing with being married to me?
The hardest
And
thing.
be as honest as possible.
Well, you have the CPAP now, so it's not snoring. Thank God.
Yeah. Have I stumped you?
No, you have. And I don't want to be stumped because the public needs to know what's hard about this.
Yeah, no one's going to believe you.
Yeah. Let's come back to that one.
Okay.
Well, ask me what's easy.
No. Okay, what's easy with being married to me?
No, everything.
Yeah.
You are a very easy person to be married to because you know me better than anybody and you have made an effort to know me and know how I think about things. And so it's very easy. Like even when you come to me with difficult conversations, you communicate them to me in a way that I want to hear it. And that is easy.
What's something in our lives that you would have changed? You go back and change. What would you change?
I would have believed you from the beginning. And
You better tell people what that means.
I would have believed you from the beginning that you loved me and what I meant to you instead of the way I did handle it at times, which was to test it and, put you in this position where I was like, oh, if he works for it, that'll prove that he loves me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think if I was to ask myself the same question, I would go back and I would not have wasted my time in little tiny startup businesses that I got involved in. I would have gotten really, really laser focused in on a few of the businesses that I've really, really grown over the last 10, 20 years. And not as taking as much time away from my family, trying to pursue those dreams. It's also a double-edged sword because I learned a lot of stuff through that, and we've set ourselves up pretty financially well. But yeah, I think that's what I would do. I'd be a better time manager, I think, if I was to go back. And I think that's probably some of my anxiety, if I have anxiety going into the future, is that I get really mad when my time isn't managed properly or it's wasted because I know that it's finite and I only have so much of it left.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what is the hardest part about being married to me?
The hardest part about being married to you, I can't tell if you're asleep or awake at night.
That's true.
No, that's not it. The hardest part about being married to you, I feel that you don't communicate to me everything, which is also an insane bar to hold you to. But I want to know every single thing that happens in your life, and I want to know all the joy and the pain and everything. And I think it's a human nature to shield people from some of that stuff, and some of the stuff's inconsequential, so you don't bring it up. But yeah, that's probably one of the things. There's two. I'll give you the other one.
Okay.
You already know this. The second thing that's hard being married to you is you are always busy, and you are always doing something. And sometimes I just want to freaking chill, and I don't give a shit if the house is dirty. I just want to go watch a movie with you. Like recently, and this has a lot to do with me too, I don't think you and I have sat down and watched a movie in our house together for years.
Yeah.
Like a full movie.
Yeah.
You know, and that means, you know, we've had a couple kid movie nights, but like really like you and I watching something that we enjoy. We don't watch TV anymore. I think by the end of the night, we just want to kiss and go to bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, but I think sometimes in our lives, and I think it's part of the time frame that we're in, you know, I just want to spend so much freaking time with you, and I just want you to be everywhere where I'm at. And, which is kind of funny in our men's group, right? The men's group that I'm in, you know, I keep on bringing you on all these adventure trips, and I don't know if it's disrupting the balance in the force or what, but I just don't want to experience life without you. And so when I do experience life without you, it's not as fun. Sometimes it's not even fun if you're not there. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the same.
What's the most important thing for us to do in the next 5 years as a couple?
Be grateful. I am a busybody. And so it is actually hard for me to sit in my joy. And the past few years, that has been my difficulty of just sit and enjoy it. Like you don't have, I mean, yes, we still have work to do. And yes, we will still continue to work at all the things that we want to be good at. But you need to take pause to have gratitude and enjoy it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. We need to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
We need to slow down the busyness of our life and enjoy it more and more and more.
Yeah.
Which we are going to do.
We are going to do.
We've already made that a goal.
Yeah.
And we're going to, I don't know, cook more meals as a family together, you know, and throw all of our TVs away.
Yes.
I don't know. What's the most important thing to you?
You and my kids. I want us to leave a legacy for our kids that you and I loved each other no matter what, that it was hard, that there were hard things that we went through, but we kept choosing it. And we figured out those hard things, and we figured out how and where we needed to pivot and adjust, and we did that and built an amazing life together. And I just hope that through that legacy, our kids can find love and find that same joy in their life.
I think the only thing I'm scared of in the future other than dying, because that is the last great adventure from Hook. Gonna bring Hook in. Is I hope that our children can find spouses like we did.
Mm-hmm.
And damn it, I'm not that hopeful.
I'm not either. That was the other thing I was going to say about why we work is there was a lot of luck that came into play.
Yeah.
And
or was it?
Those are the things that I worry about and should just chill because I have no control over it. But I do hope they just find their very best friend.
I actually, I don't even care if it's naive. I actually think that we'll be able to be really good mentors to their spouses and to them, you know, when stuff gets hard. Because there's been hard stuff that's happened in our life between us. Obviously, no devastating blows. But, you know, we're not like, we're like everyone else. Stuff is going to happen and life just happens. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that will happen. You know, we're going to have our parents pass away here and we're going to react to that however we end up reacting to that. And we'll start losing more friends and, you know, life will just there's all these things that, like, you know, we need to be able to turn into each other to keep our lives moving. And who knows, one of us is going to go first. That's going to really suck. But we'll see what happens. What's been the best thing to happen to you in the last 2 years?
I think about a year and a half ago, that you and I really fell in love again. And nothing was bad. I just think it's what happens to most people. And we were just in the flow of getting everything done that we needed to get done. I say this quote all the time and so anyone who knows me and has heard it is going to think this is annoying, but I have heard a quote that every person is married multiple times in their life. And if you are lucky, it is to the same person over and over. And so you and I have been in multiple marriages within this one. And it's just like we get to this peaceful, beautiful place, and then something comes up and you change, and you should want that to happen. I want you to change. I want to change throughout my life. We are human and ever evolving beings. And so our relationship is also going to be ever evolving. And in the last 2 years, I feel like it is just easy with you, and we know each other so well. Even when we fight, I'm like, God damn, if he would just get to the point of where I know he's going to be at the end, and yeah, that's all.
What's your best 2 minutes of advice?
My best advice is to live your life with intention and to love your people fiercely. Life can be hard. Marriage can be hard. And love is determination, and love is a choice. And you and I are where we are because we are determined, and we make a choice every day to be with one another and to show up the best we can for one another. And I heard this quote the other day during a meditation or something, and it said, whatever you choose, you cannot fall out of that. And therefore, if you choose to love, you cannot fall out of love. And I am so grateful that you choose me to be your partner in this life. And I just feel so privileged, and it is such a joy and privilege to be on this adventure of life with you. And so I hope that people go out into the world, and I hope they can find someone to go to battle with and love them fiercely.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for you too. You know it's me and you against the world. And it always has been and it always will be. And I find all my love and happiness with you.
Me too. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. I love you.
Love you too.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.